What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Today, we're going to talk about Diddy. There's more bad news for Diddy, a lot of lawsuits, a lot of chaos kind of happening right now. And there's now the bigger question to be asked, like, what's next for Diddy? And could this cause Diddy and or Revolt TV to go bankrupt? So I'm going to talk about that. And also, as I get started, I want to do a quick audio check and ask everybody, give me a yes if you can hear me okay. Let me know my audio is coming through. And we're going to get started on drboystv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. So good to see everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. Good to see you. And also, shout out the city you're from. Let me know what city you're from. Hit that thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. What's going on? Tara Redmond and NOK Solutions, LLC, Bernadette Turner, Angel Penn. Kenneth Reed, B1 Detroit, Cheryl Young, good audio. Thank you so much. Queen TM, good to see you too. And also, if you are B1, put your B1 in the chat. Let me know that you're Black first. That's what this platform is all about. We love the Black community. We also believe in educating our kids, and we want our community to be wealthy. And so, Julia out of West Palm Beach, I hope you can appreciate that. I think Julia, she must be an intelligent Black woman because she's hanging out with us. All right, so give me a yes. How many of you have been following the latest developments on Diddy and this whole situation with the lawsuits and everything else? There's the latest update is that Diddy has announced that he is resigning as the chairman of Revolt TV. And that's a big deal because I think that this is really communicating that this pressure is really getting to him. There have been an avalanche of lawsuits. Apparently, there's a third one just filed, and it's just getting messier by the minute. And I don't know how much messier it's going to get because sometimes these things happen sort of in a cascade. If you remember with Bill Cosby, there was a long period of time where Bill Cosby was considered untouchable. There's a long period of time where nobody messed with Bill, where nobody came after him, nobody dealt with him. Everything was a whisper and a rumor. And then suddenly things just changed. Suddenly, out of the blue, everybody was suing him. Everybody who had felt that Cosby needed to answer for any of the questionable situations he'd been involved with for the last 50 years, all suddenly came filing suits. Now, I want to ask y'all a question. Give me a yes or no. Do you think that that's necessarily fair? Like, do you think that, because I saw the rapper Slim Thug said some things about the whole Diddy stuff, and he said that, you should report it when it happens. You can't just wait 30 years and then, file a lawsuit later. Or do you think that it depends? Do you think that it's just, unfair? Or do you think that this is the right thing to do? Justice is finally getting served. What do y'all think? Because I did a survey, and actually the majority of you said you don't like the idea of lawsuits being filed 20, 30 years later, especially given that there aren't a lot of facts and a lot of evidence. And the reality is that this does have serious financial implications. And also, there is a racial element to this. I think that what happened with Bill Cosby is something that probably wouldn't have happened to him if he were a white man. I'm sure they could have did the same thing to Elvis and a lot of other people who, did questionable things throughout their lives. And so to some extent, you could say that this is unorthodox for sure. Inappropriate, possibly. But then again, it could be justice in another form. Nobody knows, right? I can't say that for sure. But let me talk about a few things with Diddy that I want to sort of consider. Now, first of all, this resignation from Revolt, and I'm going to read this from People magazine. They said that Diddy's facing a 3rd sexual assault. Again, he's denying the allegations. This is coming actually from a young lady who was a college student at Syracuse University, which you guys know I taught at Syracuse. I was on the faculty for many years. I wasn't there in 91. In 91, I was in college. So she's about my age now, or maybe a little bit older. And she says this is a Jane Doe lawsuit. She says that wait a minute, let me make sure I get this right. They said the third woman has accused Sean Diddy Combs of sexual assault, according to a lawsuit filed Thursday in New York County Supreme Court. In the lawsuit obtained by People, first reported by Rolling Stone, Jane Doe alleges that Combs, 54, and singer-songwriter Aaron Hall took turns raping her and a friend in New York City more than 30 years ago. The allegation comes the same day that the entertainer was named in another lawsuit accusing him of sexual assault of a college student in 1991. Now, remember, at that time, Diddy was also college age, right? Diddy's 54. So I'm guessing in 91, maybe he was 21 years old, something like that. So they were both very young at the time. And it says that, and this is days after he settled a different lawsuit accusing him of rape and abuse, all litigation filed under the Adult Survivors Act, which expired on Friday. Quote, these are fabricated claims falsely alleging misconduct from over 30 years ago and filed at the last minute. This is nothing but a money grab because of Mr. Combs' fame and success. He's an easy target for anonymous accusers who lie without conscience or consequence for financial benefit, a spokesperson for Combs wrote in a statement to People. Now, this is interesting, right? You know what's interesting, right? Let me ask y'all a quick question. I'm going to play a little stupid pet trick real quick. I'm going to do a silly little trick. How many of y'all think that this is justice served? If you think this is justice, that these are people that were really wronged by Diddy throughout the years, or maybe even Cosby in his case, right? How many of y'all think that this is justice? Give me a yes in the chat if you think that this is the way it's supposed to be. Chicken's coming home to roost. Time to pay the piper. You did this. Now you got to pay. Give me a yes if you think this is a good thing. All right. Now I want you to give me a yes if you're in the other side of the camp. How many of you think this is a money grab? How many of you think that it's opportunism at its best? It is, I made bad choices in my life, so I'm going to go get money now from these choices because apparently it's raining money in New York because they're letting people sue for any bad thing that they believe happened to them or they claim happened to them. And they're not really checking receipts like that. They're kind of, but not really, right? Because remember, civil court is not guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. It is a preponderance of the evidence. So if a jury just feels like you probably did it, then you're going to pay, right? Or if you have to settle the suit because you don't want the reputational damage, well, then that's going to cost money too. So, right. So maybe I sue, and I sue for like $1 trillion and then I settle for 10 grand or 50 grand. Well, that's 50 grand more than I had before, right? How many do you think it's a money grab? Okay. So the reason I asked you that question is because it's a trick question. It's really a trick question. The reason it's a trick question, and I haven't seen a lot of people really break it down like this, and I don't even know if it's politically correct to do this, but I'm going to do it because that's what I do. I think it could be both. I really think it could be both. I think it's both. There we go. See, Grandpa, you intelligent Black people, y'all smart. You're ahead of the curve. Right? I think intelligent Black people are going to change the world. I think it could be both in a lot of cases. I think it's both in the sense that, come on now, you're talking about Diddy. I mean, and Cosby, would you really bet everything in your pocket? Would you really put it all on the line to defend this idea that in 30 years, 40 years, Cosby and Diddy never did anything that would be difficult to defend in the court of law? Like seriously, like you really think Diddy ain't never? Come on, I mean, and in fact, I'll tell you, honest to God truth, I hung out with some, I know a lot of rappers. I talk about that sometimes. And I was hanging out with a famous rapper. If I said the guy's name, you'd know who he is. I'm not going to say his name because there's no reason for that. And I remember I said to him, I said, hey, do you hang out with Diddy? I said, what's Diddy like? And he goes, man, and this is a tough guy. This is a very tough guy. He goes, man, I don't be going over there, man. He said, I don't know what they got going on over there, but they got some dark shit going on over there. That's what he said. And this person, it was the only time I saw almost like fear in his eyes. Like he felt like it was just, he said some dark shit. I'll never forget that. And I was like, what do you mean by dark shit? You mean witchcraft? Like what's going on? So again, let's just be honest. 50 Cent's been very vocal about it. I think, well, 50, he's kind of a troll, right? He's like saying I'll buy your company for pennies on the dollar. And he's kind of, and calling Diddy a fruit pop. I don't believe, I think Diddy could be, gay or something? Possibly. I mean, I think there's a lot of evidence to that effect for sure. Even Farnsworth Bentley III. Anybody remember Farnsworth Bentley III? The little guy who used to walk behind Diddy holding the umbrella over his head. I mean, come on, dudes don't do stuff like that. You'll never see me walking down the street with a man holding an umbrella over my head. I felt like that was a little that was a little weird, but whatever, or a little different. How about this? Different. It wasn't what I would do, right? And so is that, could he be gay? Yeah, possibly. I mean, and who cares? Who cares, really? I think that that's one thing we should be able to concede, is that it's okay for people to have sexual preferences that are different from our own. Give me a yes if you agree. If you're gay, I don't dislike it. I don't have nothing against you. There are people in my family that are gay, and I think that that should be okay. Now, so I don't think that's a bad thing. So I don't think 50 should be, because remember, 50's putting himself in a bad position by doing that, by consistently making these statements. Because one thing y'all got to understand about culture is that culture and politics are always changing, right? Culture and politics are always shifting. So what happens is, and this is what's happening right now, this is what happened with Cosby, is that Bill Cosby went to jail allegedly for doing things that were not seen as such a bad thing 30, 40 years ago. Like, it wasn't a bad thing. Like, if you go back to the 80s, you remember Dwayne Wayans making jokes about being gay and all that, and that was fine, but now people would flip out of it. I watched Richard Pryor's movie, Which Way Is Up. Has anybody ever seen that movie? It's hilarious. It's so funny, but if you are really politically sensitive, do not watch that movie, because there's several instances in that movie where Pryor says and does things that would be completely unacceptable today. But why was it okay? Well, because it was 1974 and it was a different world. In the first like 5 minutes of the movie, he's threatened to kill his wife because she won't have sex with him, right? And they throw knives at each other, and just a lot of crazy stuff happens, right? So it's a funny movie though. If you can just laugh at stuff, like, it's almost like if you can laugh at Family Guy or what is it, South Park, you're usually a person that's not going to be real sensitive to stuff like that. So if you're not a sensitive person in that way, go watch it. It's a great movie. It's really funny. But anyway, so the point is to say that even 50 Cent, by making fun of Diddy, like, he's a fruit pop, this, that, and the other, I'm wondering if that could cause him problems, 20, 30 years from now, in terms of people looking back at his legacy and the things that he said, and society changes. So I think with Cosby, this guy, he made jokes about giving Spanish fly to women and how that would make women want to do it, make them want to have sex, and how they would sneakily give it to him, and again, that's different from evidence though, right? And that was my point. If you wanted to know where I stood on that, I stood on the fact that you got laws, you have rules, right? Why do you keep bending the rules when it comes to black people? And why do we act like Bill Cosby is a guy who never did anything good for anybody? I'm not a fan of this black or white society. I'm not a fan of destroying someone's whole entire legacy. I'm not a fan of acting like because you did a bad thing, possibly did a bad thing, that somehow that nullifies every good thing you ever did, because I don't think that that's reality. I think that's stupid. That's politics. But then again, we live in a stupid world, and that's what you're going to get. So anyway, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching drboystv.com, the home for intelligent black people. We are on Spotify and Apple. We got 1 million downloads last month. Go to Spotify and Apple. Just search for my name. You can find, I got 2 podcasts on Spotify. One is called the Dr. Boyce Breakdown, where I talk about stuff like this, and we lean it back to economics, but we can talk about a little bit of everything. And then I have a specific, if you're just interested in the financial side, my PhD's in finance, there's a podcast called How to Make Money Without Working. I guarantee you it will elevate your game. It will take your life to the next level. So look up those podcasts on Spotify. Also, my website is boycewatkins.com if you want free stuff that's going to help you to level up economically. All right, so here's one thing about Diddy. Diddy's in doo-doo. He should probably change it. He changes his name every 2 years. So instead of calling himself Diddy, he should be called doo-doo, because Diddy is in the doo-doo, to be honest with you. I believe that Diddy is he resigned from Revolt because I think Diddy is smart enough, or let's call him Duty. Maybe Duty, like Diddy, Duty, Doo-doo, Duty. I'm calling him Duty. So Duty is, that's mean, I know. But anyway, so Diddy, being in the duty, is in a situation where I think that he sees what's coming down the pike. I think that he sees an avalanche. I think that he sees demons and chickens coming home to roost in terms of him having to answer for everything he did the last 30, 40 years. And one of the things I can say is that as a man who has followed hip hop culture very closely, and I followed Diddy way back in the 90s, I can tell you that there's something problematic about sort of getting black men in these positions where we let our guards down. I think Bill Cosby made the same mistake. And I think that what happens is that when you get wealthy and you become famous, you start thinking the rules don't apply to you anymore. You start going into that mindset of, well, I'm not black, I'm OJ, right? And you saw what happened with OJ when racial realities hit him upside his head, when real life came back and got him. You saw what happened with Cosby when he learned the hard way that maybe sleeping with 3,000 white women is not necessarily the safest way to live your life. And so with Diddy, I see him as he was the embodiment of hip hop culture. He was the embodiment of, he changed culture. He took us from, I say Ice Cube and NWA took us from, the East Coast hip hop to more West Coast gangster rap. And then Diddy took us out of gangster rap and more so toward that shiny, glistening, like party all the time crap that they did, where they would wear like space suits that looked like corny as hell, but that's what they did, right? So Diddy was like the party guy. He helped shift hip hop culture. They still had the gangster stuff, but then they also had the shiny Negroes, in these videos. And I didn't like the stuff back then. I thought it was corny back then. I still think it's corny, but somebody liked it because he made a lot of money from it. So what happened was, in my view, is that this culture really creates a numbness for some of the men, I believe, when it comes to like reality. Like that racial conservatism that you learn from your grandma that says, because you're black, be extra careful, watch how you move, or the conservatism that my father said to me when I got my job at Syracuse University, where he said, don't you fuck nothing on that campus. Don't fuck no students, don't fuck no professors, because if they take that to HR and they tell the wrong story about you, they can destroy everything you worked hard for. And this was 20 years ago, he said this. If it was today, I mean, this was 2001, he said this. I can't imagine what he would say in 2023. So hip-hop culture, hip-hop's in trouble. It ain't Diddy ain't the only one in trouble. Hip hop is in trouble because white women, especially, are going to come get that money, and some black women too. The Me Too movement is going to come to hip hop, and it's literally going to be like draining the swamp, because hip hop culture, unfortunately, corporatized hip hop. Hip hop, by the way, the whole nonsense of hip hop is not driven by hip hop being bad. Hip hop is a wonderful art form that can elevate millions of people to a high level, and it was built by us and meant for us. Corporate hip hop is basically capitalist profiteering off the image of the black man as an irresponsible thug who doesn't care about his own life, doesn't care about anyone else, doesn't respect his women, doesn't respect his children. And it's ruined millions of black men. It's ruined your mindset. It's ruined a lot of you because you don't even think that it's appropriate to even love a woman. You don't think, it really spun off from the pimp culture. The pimp culture leaned right into hip hop culture. So where you're hearing Snoop talking about, we don't love them hoes, and you're talking crazy about your women, and it's still around to this day. And as a result, you have a fatherlessness issue in your community that millions of people refuse to acknowledge. They act like it came out of nowhere, or that it's all because of the Republicans. The Republicans did it. So as long as we vote for the Democrats and keep getting their social policies or whatever the crap they're doing, like it's gonna be okay. No. It was a combination of a lot of factors, a whole mix of factors. It's ruined you. It's ruined your families. It's probably stolen $10 trillion in economic potential from your community. They got you a day late, dollar short, blind, deaf, dumb, stupid, left behind, looking crazy, ridiculous families falling apart, kids out in the street getting shot, daughters out here trying to be thoughts, 5-year-olds trying to rap sexy red lyrics, and it's a goddamn mess. That's what it is. That's what you got. And hip hop taught you to celebrate all this. That's what it did. And so I'm gonna just be honest with you. If you really look in terms of that culture, it is not exactly a culture I think you should be admiring or looking up to, because some of the behavior was nothing short of absolutely dastardly. And it looks even more pathetic when these guys start getting older and you start seeing all the consequences of those choices. You start hearing about Lil Wayne and Rick Ross passing out on the airplane because they've been drinking lean for 20 years or whatever. Or you got T.I. having to go choke his son in public because his son is out here telling secrets and talking about how I never got raised by y'all. I got raised by my grandma because y'all was out here living a hip hop party life. Right? Seriously, I'm sorry. Don't give me no disrespect to that, because I got to be careful, because I know people that know Tip and I respect him immensely. I'm not disrespecting at all, but I am saying that now you're you're starting to see the consequences. You're starting to see the consequences. You're starting to see what happens when a wild young man gets old. That's what you're seeing. You're starting to see what happens when a wild young man becomes an old man that has regrets. Diddy used to be a young guy who could lead every party, had all the money, had all the women, had half the men, did what he wanted, could have got Pac shot, could have did whatever he wanted, and he was a boss, and there was no tomorrow. He didn't have to worry about any of that. Now Diddy's the dirty old man, where there are people out there that have receipts. They have videotape. They have testimonies. They have witnesses. He has an ex-security guard, Gene Deal, who's going on TV shows telling all his secrets to the whole world. You got people out here going on Vlad snitching on themselves, which is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. And you really have this absolute shit show of people telling stories about how pathetic hip-hop culture became, how it's the pathetic behavior started more so in the 90s and then the 2000s and beyond, to the point where the whole world does not see the black man as a man. The whole world sees the black man as either an animal or a child. That's how they see the black man, and you see it everywhere. You see it spill out. Go look at the internet, and you just see all kinds of weird behavior that makes absolutely no sense. And this is what they tell you is your culture every year on the BET Awards. So because the Sumner Redstone family, they're not black. The Sumner Redstone family says these people are so crazy, we're gonna go tell them what their culture is. We got $1 billion, so we get to decide what black culture is gonna be. So C. Dolores Tucker was absolutely right, actually. And RIP to C. Dolores Tucker, because I'm gonna be honest with you, when I was a young black man, I didn't appreciate C. Dolores Tucker. I did not like her. I didn't like her. Why? Well, because my favorite rappers at the time, who happen to be my friends now, it's very weird how life goes full circle. Ice Cube and Scarface did a song where they made fun of C. Dolores Tucker, and they made fun of Reverend Calvin Butts. They said, Reverend Calvin Butts got a pair of nuts. And I had met Reverend Calvin Butts a few years earlier because he spoke at my scholarship banquet with Black Achievers, which was the only organization that gave me a chance to go to college when nobody else would. So this was full circle for me. So when I say chickens come home to roost, I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about all of us that got excited, looked up to things, thought things were good when they were actually bad. All of us have to answer for something, including me, including my own high contradictions and hypocrisies, right? And so I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm really pointing, unless you could admit that we're pointing the fingers at ourselves, at each other, and that's where accountability does begin. And one thing I'll say, though, that does separate most of us from the Diddys of the world is that Diddy did live in a different world. He lived in a different lifestyle. And I'm gonna tell you, the reputation Diddy had that he catered to for many, many years is one that is probably going to lead to significant legal liability now, right? Especially given when they talk about stuff being videotaped and eyewitnesses being everywhere. And everybody's going on Vlad TV snitching and talking about everything that happened. Oh, Diddy offered me $1 million to kill Pac, right? All these things, right? So all these things are interesting because I'm really finding it fascinating when you try to take these stories and explain them to a jury, and they're applying legal statutes to okay, who's liable for what? And one thing that we talk extensively about on a regular basis is the protection of your wealth, what wealth protection looks like. And part of wealth protection, people think wealth protection is all about insurance policies and estate planning and having a will and a trust and all that. No, it goes deeper than that. It actually goes down to just behavior. A billionaire can't be wilding out the way a regular dude can. A regular dude can wild out and have, 10 women that want to sue him for some kind of misbehavior, and it won't matter as much because he ain't got no money. They can't get nothing from suing him. They won't even file the lawsuit. A lawyer won't take the case. But when you're a billionaire and you have been wilding out, and you wild out because you think that because I'm a billionaire, I can do whatever I want, instead of thinking the opposite, which is that because I'm a billionaire, I got to be more careful. Do you understand? Those are two different mindsets, right? But hip hop tells you that you're a boss, you do whatever you want, the world will applaud you. The more debaucherous your behavior, the more the world will pay you and applaud you. I mean, there are people out here that act crazy in hip hop because the world rewards them for being crazy. The world rewards them for being outrageous. The world rewards them every time they say, fuck a bitch, I hate my mama. I want to kill a black man. You get more money. So that is literally just the most horrific business model known to man. It is completely all the wrong incentives. And then what happens is that in E40 he had a song called "They'll Find a New Nigga Next Year." That was the chorus. The song was called "To Whom It May Concern." You should go listen to it. And he says they'll find a new nigga next year. Once they get done using you up, once they get done decaying your soul, once they get done deteriorating everything that you used to represent, once they get finished just gutting you to the core, they'll throw you out and they'll find another one next year. They'll find some other black man that needs money, who's going to go out here and sell his soul in order to get paid. And but the payment will be temporary. They will come back and collect all that bread. They will come back and collect all that money. That really ain't your money. That ain't your generational wealth. You're not going to get a chance to pass that down to your kids. You're not going to get a chance to have a legacy. You're not going to chance that, because what's going to happen, and it ain't going to be just Diddy. They're going to do that to T.I. T.I. has 20-something years explaining to do. Because I'm gonna tell you, I heard the story is a tip, and I'm not saying he's like Diddy, and I'm not putting that on him at all. But what I am saying is that the stories are wild. It's the rock star lifestyle, right? That's what it is. And I get it. That's entertainment. But for black men in America, because our rules are so different, and I wrote about this extensively. I wrote a whole book about this actually called "What If George Bush Were a Black Man?" It's out here somewhere. I think it might be on Amazon. Or actually, I think we have a few copies here. If you go to drboysbooks.com, you can get all my books over there. But then I wrote about this. I said, if you're a black man, your margin of error is much thinner. And that's why your grandmother and your grandfather taught you a more conservative tradition. That's why they were old fashioned. This is before integration, before white folks got a hold of you. They told you, be careful because you're black. As a black man, you're going to get scrutinized in a different way. As a black woman, you're going to get seen in a different way. That's why black women carry around a different level of personal accountability than white females do. That's why black men, smart black men, carry around a different level of personal accountability than white men do. There's a reason for that. You are in an occupied territory. You're just like the Palestinians. You're pretty much in a situation where you are an occupied community where there are others who control a lot of what happens in your day-to-day life. They control where you work. They control where you go to school. They control what you watch on TV. They control almost everything about your life. So effectively, in that particular situation, you can act like you white if you want to. You can say, well, I'm not black, I'm OJ, or I'm not the highest paid Negro in the city. You can do that if you want, but then when you're no longer of use to them, then we take all the money back. We take all the money back. So anyway, do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching drboystv.com, the home for intelligent black people. Just so you know, in the Black Business School this weekend, we're doing Start Your Business Weekend. So if you want to get that business off the ground or that side hustle you've been procrastinating on, we got Dr. Lene Javette. She's one of many economic scientists that we have in the Black Business School. We have the first ever Black financial therapy department, actually. My wife, Dr. Alicia, is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. She's gotten a lot of her therapist friends together, and they're helping us to understand the psychological barriers that keep us from building black wealth. So we live on a powernomics philosophy, but we're also adding in top-level black scientists that are focused specifically on solving the racial wealth gap. It's not a mystery to us. We've already solved it. We have simple ideas like the $5 a day investing plan that I guarantee will get your family out of poverty in less than 10 years. So feel free to go take a look at that. If you'd like to get information on that, just text the word stock to 31996. If you text stock to 31996, I'll send you free information. And also I'll send you a link on how to join us this weekend for Start Your Business Weekend. And also, if you have an interest in real estate, I've created a real estate investment community that you can learn about at drboysrealestate.com. I'm not a real estate expert, but I have tons of friends that are. So I'm bringing in experts on commercial real estate, residential real estate, multifamily real estate, house flipping, all that stuff. So if you go to drboysrealestate.com, you can actually do a trial and see how you feel about joining that. I think there's a discount there, drboysrealestate.com. So feel free to go take a look. All right, so let's finish talking. Let's dig deeper into the Diddy thing. So Diddy has resigned from Revolt as the chairman. This doesn't surprise me, right? Corporations don't do well with this kind of volatility. Corporations don't do well with chaotic accusations. And a lot of people are affected by what's going on with Diddy because I don't understand all the details of the relationship with things like the Breakfast Club, but all of that's kind of connected. And really, if you look at that, and I have so much respect for the guys at the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne the God, I knew him way back when he was on the Wendy Williams Experience. I think he's a smart guy. That book, What If George Bush Were a Black Man? When I met Charlemagne in 2006, he asked for a copy of my book. And when I came back to the Wendy Williams show, he had actually read the book. I was really impressed by that because a lot of people ask for the book and they don't, they didn't read it because they're busy, right? They're famous, right? Well, through the years, I saw Charlemagne just really work hard on his career. I remember when Wendy Williams left to go to television, I spent about an hour and a half talking to Wendy the right before she was about to leave to go to TV because it was kind of chaotic. Some stuff was going on with her husband and lawsuits and all that. Again, crazy culture, right? Crazy decisions being made that got to HR. And I think that's what kind of brought that whole Wendy Williams show down as far as radio went. So Wendy ended up going to TV. And I remember that when Wendy went to TV, Charlemagne didn't have anywhere to go. Wendy didn't take hardly anybody with her. Al Sharpton did the same thing. I was close to the people that Sharpton worked with. I was surprised when Sharpton went to TV that it seemed like most of the people he worked with did not go with him. That was the impression I had. I could be wrong. But anyway, so I remember Charlemagne went back to South Carolina and he had this public access radio show. And this is just a little note for anybody that wants to understand what it takes to be at the top of your craft and why I respect Charlemagne in terms of his work ethic and whatnot. Well, Charlemagne goes back to South Carolina and gets on this public access radio show. And I think there wasn't nobody listening except 2 people and 3 cows. Like nobody's listening to this show. And Charlemagne would call me and wanted me to do an interview. And I would say, gosh, and ain't nobody listening to that channel. But I was like, well, you know what? He was nice to me when he was on the Wendy show. So I'll go ahead and do it. So I did the interview with him. We talked for like an hour. And then the following week, my brother comes in and says, Charlemagne wants you back on this week. And I was like, but I already did the interview last week. Oh, God. So I was like, so I did it anyway. Right. And next thing I know, Charlemagne does this thing called the Breakfast Club, and he does really well and it blows up. And I was like, whoo, I'm so glad I was nice to him when he was down. That's why you got to remember always remember how you treat people when they're struggling, because you never know how life is going to change. So anyway, so with Charlemagne, he deserves all the success that he's had, in my opinion, from a professional standpoint, because I personally saw him hit rock bottom theoretically and then rise himself back to the top. I respect that immensely. Now, here's the thing that's interesting, though, about Charlemagne Breakfast Club and all that. So I've been on the Breakfast Club. I was on there a few times. And I remember that there was a whole big controversy about Charlemagne's past, right? Some stuff that happened with a girl about 20 years ago. Kwame Brown made a big deal about it. A lot of people made a big deal about it. They were able to kind of get past that somehow, right? And because I think they're very intelligent, very strategic about how to handle media crises. Then, though, you fast forward, you get the whole issue with DJ Envy and Cesar Pena, right? You guys saw that, where Cesar Pena basically is accused of running a Ponzi scheme that was promoted on the Breakfast Club. Basically, what makes something a Ponzi scheme is when you are taking money from new investors to pay old investors, or if people invest and you don't actually invest the money in what you said you're going to invest it in, then you're going to get in trouble. That's why. Well, that's one of the reasons why, for example, many people have asked me for many years, hey, boys, why don't you start some sort of fund or start some sort of community investment thing? I said, I'm not going to do it. If I invest with a group, I invest privately with people that I know and trust, and also I invest with people that are qualified, people that are prepared, people that understand that sometimes when you invest, you make money. Sometimes when you invest, you lose money. I said, I do not want thousands of people giving me their last $500 and expecting me to flip it in 2 weeks, because that ain't how investing works, right? So effectively, with right now, the Breakfast Club, which is linked to Revolt TV, is already dealing with a lot of headaches and potential crises, right? Like they've been consistently working to manage for a very long time. Charlemagne's scenario, which has been kind of handled pretty well. He seems to be doing good with that. DJ Envy and Cesar Pena, it seems like they're right in the middle of that, right? And that's yet to be determined. And now you've got Diddy, the big boss, who is being hit by all these allegations. Now, one common thread amongst all 3 of those, let's call them accusations, right? Because I'm not going to tell you if anybody's guilty or not. I'll let you make your own decision on that, because I'm not here to gossip about that part at all. But all 3, one common thread among all these accusations, in my opinion, is that a lot of them came about from what I would call a deformity that occurred over time with Black male culture. the deformity, and a lot of that deformity, I think, links back to hip hop. What do I mean? Well, whatever happened allegedly with Charlemagne or whatever, you look at it, it was a situation involving a woman and some liquor, and then also oh, I forgot, clout chasing, doing interviews, and making jokes about highly inappropriate behavior. I think he did an interview with the white guy, and he said something where I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if I would say something like that in an interview." But again, I think that with high profile black men in the entertainment space, they create a God complex where you believe that you can't be touched, right? So it's the culture. It's like, oh yeah. I might have slipped my penis in there without her permission or whatever. And you don't understand that once you take that statement out of the party scene and put it in front of regular people, they're gonna say, wait a minute, hold on, let me look up what's the definition of rape again? Oh wait, no, that's putting your penis in a woman without. Yeah, that's a problem. And you're sitting on millions of dollars. That opens the door for lawsuits, right? And then when I looked at Cesar Pena and what was going on with the Ponzi scheme, what I saw there is that I was very happy to see that there was an economic revolution happening in the black community. If you go back and look at the track record, when I was talking about this in 06, 07, 08, it was a much harder conversation. Nobody was really listening. And I said, I'm determined to help change this culture. And it changed, right? It wasn't just me, it's a lot of other people, but it eventually changed. Now, everybody's talking about generational wealth. Everybody's talking about investing. Everybody understands the importance of it. I came into it as a finance professor, thinking about the more academic-y side of it. Whereas I saw a lot of guys in hip hop trying to fuse the outrageous behavior. Pay attention now. I need you to hear what I'm saying. Let me know if you follow this. They were trying to fuse the outrageousness of hip hop behavior, the irresponsibility of it all. It's really irresponsible behavior, to be honest with you. And they were trying to fuse that with the conservatism that allows you to succeed in the field of finance. Finance is a space. If you look at the people that really have the big money, if you look at the people that run companies like BlackRock and stuff like that, where the guy's managing $9 trillion in assets, Larry Fink, probably more powerful than any president or governor or king on the planet. You don't see him twerking in the club and talking about how many hoes he got and doing goofy goofball interviews about his sexual exploits. You just don't see it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? And so I think that one of the reasons that hip hop culture has to be confronted is because that outlandish, like, I want to imitate the rapper behavior is gonna get you in trouble. It's gonna get you in trouble. It's look up, I want you to go and research Ephraim Taylor. Ephraim Taylor, EPHRAM. Ephraim Taylor was a boy genius who was known throughout the black community in the late 00s, like 2008, 2009, as being a financial genius. I would go on shows like The Big Idea with Donnie Deutsch, stuff like that. I heard about Ephraim because he was making millions of dollars, going to black churches and using kind of prosperity gospel to get people to invest with his company. Well, Ephraim Taylor, a few years later, was on the run because he got 19, and he eventually got 19 years in prison. He's in prison right now for running a Ponzi scheme. Now, if you look back and you look at Ephraim and what his behavior exemplified when he had the money, you'll find that his wife did like a music video, right? Like you're the CEO of this company. It's a multi-million-dollar company. You're doing music videos. Why? Well, because everybody wants to imitate the rappers and the entertainers, right? And in the video, she's singing and rapping or something about her diamonds and pearls and fur coats and how much money she has. And where do we get this flashy behavior from? Where do we get that from? We get it from hip hop. We get it from the entertainment industry. Everybody wants to be the flashy Negro. Everybody wants to be the loud Negro. If you go back to look at Aaron Hall, Hollis has mentioned Aaron Hall. That's a funny point you bring that up. Aaron Hall is a singer from the group Guy who would go on Vlad TV and loudly brag about all of the sexually ridiculous shit that he did, and now Aaron Hall is in a lawsuit. And so the difference between an Aaron Hall and a regular intelligent black man is that the intelligent guy understands that typically the loudest Negro in the room is the one who's most likely to have a problem. And also, they understand, look, when you talking about your sexuality, there's no reason to kiss and tell. Why would you be on a national platform bragging about how wonderful your penis is? Who cares? That's between you and the lady you were having sex with. You ain't never gonna hear me talking about, yeah, me back in the day, I used to get together with so and so, and we used to go and we would have them 2 at a time, 3 at a time, right? But that buck behavior that we get from slavery, it goes back to slave breeding and all that stuff. I've seen it happen all the time. I saw Chad Ochocinco, talking to some guy, talking to Terrell Owens, and they were like, "Yeah, remember when we were in the DR? We went through 15 women in 24 hours." I was like, "Ugh, that's nasty." And these were all hookers. And there's a lady that will sleep with you after all of that. Like, do we have diseases anymore, or did diseases just disappear? We can keep going about R. Kelly. I mean, you can go down the list, right? So here's what I see, right? Let's circle back. Let's go full circle so we can understand what's happening here in class. And because we're talking about economics and culture. In my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, which, by the way, you can get a copy at drboycebooks.com. You'll notice in the book, I spend a lot of time talking about economic culture, because culture impacts not just your ability to accumulate wealth, but also your ability to preserve and protect that wealth. Most wealthy families that maintain and protect that wealth, they don't want loud, crazy behavior. Let me tell you, let me give you an example. Mike Roberts, who I knew about him first because he was on CNN, because him and his brother run over $1 billion worth of companies. Michael Roberts came into the Black Business School. And in fact, he and I are going to co-teach a class together. And Michael said something that I really encourage you to consider. He said, rich people are loud, wealthy people whisper. He said, rich people are loud, wealthy people whisper. Because people that have real money and real power, they don't really want you to know everything they got going on, right? So these outsized personas that get created throughout entertainment make a lot of black men believe that that's the way how a black man conducts himself. You got to just be Mr. Swaggy and all this other stuff and flashy and tell everybody all your business. And now you're seeing how what that's actually doing, right? Like if you start with Charlemagne, I think a lot of his problems began when he did that interview and he made the joke about something that was very inappropriate, right? The next thing you know, they're digging and then they're going back and they're finding women and stories and all stuff. Same thing. Then you move on to Cesar Pena and DJ Envy. That to me was when you were fusing fusing kind of the sloppiness of hip hop culture with managing millions of dollars. So suddenly this guy, it goes on the Breakfast Club. He's able to raise millions of dollars, just like 17, 20 million. They were talking about big numbers. And at that point, rather than understanding, like, because you are now the steward of millions of dollars in resources, you better hunker down. You got to be real careful. You got to dot every I and cross every T. Instead, something goes weird with the money. And then you start hearing about weird things happening, like him showing up instead of paying the guy, he brings a big old, diamond necklace and says, here, hold this chain until I can give you the money back. Well, that just sounds like some ghetto shit. That does not sound like normal, real business. But the big money came in because also some people falsely believe that because a guy on the Breakfast Club told me to give $100,000 to this real estate flipper, I'm supposed to do that. That also puts some of the accountability on you, but investor protection laws don't put the accountability on the investor. They put the accountability on the person who actually takes the money, right? So then you can move on to that next level. You talk about Diddy. Well, Diddy is in a scenario where 20 years ago, Diddy couldn't get sued for the things he's being sued for now, right? 20 years ago or 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the rules were very different than they are right now. And I think that to some extent, there is some empathy for Diddy in the sense that they changed the rules on him. Basically, that's what they did, right? And but given that they've changed the rules, now Diddy has to kind of account for the fact that for 30 years he lived as if there were no rules for him, that the rules applied to everybody but him, and it's just going to be so financially devastating, really to the point where I wouldn't be surprised to hear he declares bankruptcy. I wouldn't be surprised if Revolt declares bankruptcy, right? And the interesting thing about Revolt is that Revolt's wired into a lot of stuff. You know, they got a film division. They have the Breakfast Club is connected to Revolt. I know that the Breakfast Club radio show appears on Revolt TV. The Breakfast Club is already dealing with all these other issues. So I'd be curious to know from a corporate standpoint, because corporations tend to be very conservative because they're preserving billions of dollars in assets. I'd be curious to know what the conversations are among Revolt and Breakfast Club executives, iHeartRadio executives, as they're trying to navigate the extreme care required to manage billion-dollar companies, with the fact that hip hop is positioned as kind of a risky, no rules, no holds barred kind of arena, right? Where guys and women just do what the hell they want. Everybody's fucking everybody, and you have freak offs like Diddy was. Did y'all see the stories where Diddy? They were talking about Diddy and Aaron Hall would have the freak offs where they would just have sex with 10, 15 women. And I haven't even got to things like STDs and all that stuff. I can only imagine what that looks like. So none of this. And the other thing too is it just really takes me back to common sense. You know, I think that one of the things that probably bothers me most about corporate hip hop, not all hip hop. I love hip hop, but I don't like corporate hip hop. The thing that bothers me about corporate hip hop is that it throws common sense out the window, right? It throws common sense out the window. This is Uncle Boyce talking now, not Dr. Boyce. Dr. Boyce is leaving the room for a minute. I'm going to bring Uncle Boyce in here and just kind of talk about common sense. Give me a yes or no. Do you think it makes sense that you think you can have sex with 3,000 people and not have a consequence for that? Sex is very powerful. Like, you do understand that human beings exist because someone had sex. You do understand that the ability of a woman's womb to literally create life, like, that's sacred. Hey, so your womb is not designed to be shared with a penis within a 100-mile radius, right? You do understand that a man's desire and ability to recreate children is going to stay with him for the rest of his life, and that children eventually grow up and they start asking hard questions. They start saying, "Mom and Daddy, what the fuck were you thinking? What were you doing? Like, you must not love me because you brought me in, you had me born in the middle of hell. I'm already black. I'm already dealing with being black. And now you got me dealing with being broke. Now you're dealing with me being broken. Now you're dealing with me having to figure out what the fuck you were doing and why I got brothers and sisters and siblings all over the goddamn city and why I don't have an inheritance because you tricked it all off because you were trying to imitate these dumbass rappers." Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what these kids must be feeling right now, growing up and saying, why was I born in the middle of shit? Like, why did I do that? Because your ass didn't have any forward thinking. You weren't planning for the future. You did not love me enough to make a plan for me before you brought me in this world. All you were thinking about was busting a goddamn nut, and I'm mad at you for that. I'm angry at you for that. That's so irresponsible. So this is one rule that I believe. This is something I'm just going to say, and I didn't mean to cuss so much. Forgive me for cussing. I'm going to cut it out right now. I promise you. But here's the thing. I think that any intelligent black person in here should just make a rule that says that before you start having kids, find a way to deal with your own shit. Deal with your shit. Because if you don't deal with your shit, your kid's going to be born in shit. Half these kids out here hurting, crying, suicidal, thugged out, going to jail, on drugs, whatever, are like that because their parents never dealt with their shit. Their parents never hit a point where they said, okay, I'm 28. I got to grow up. I got to tighten it up. I got to go ahead and start being financially responsible with my health, responsible with my choices, responsible with my relationships, because I got another little human being who's going to need me to show up for them in an appropriate way. No. Yo ass, you 42 years old, man, and still out here trying to run through 50 women a week and ain't thinking nothing about your future or the future of the people that you're impacting with your reckless behavior. Wilt Chamberlain, somebody mentioned his name. I see his name in there, Hot Dusty. Thank you for bringing that up. I know Wilt Chamberlain's granddaughter, but Wilt never knew this girl. I know Wilt Chamberlain's granddaughter, and I know what she went through growing up in the middle of the hood in South Central, where she had PTSD from so many of her friends getting murdered before she was 12 years old. I know Wilt Chamberlain's granddaughter, one of the many kids he created while he's running around like an asshole bragging about fucking 25,000 women. I said I wasn't gonna cuss no more, but I'm sorry, I'm breaking that fucking promise right now. You went around the world bragging about how you fucked 25,000 women because you want to be the man, and I know your granddaughter and how hurt she is that your family doesn't even accept her because they know that in their mind they're thinking she's just a product of one of Will's many thousands of hoes. So this little girl grew up with no love because her granddaddy wasn't shit. But the world thinks he's the man because he could dribble a goddamn basketball. That's the problem. That's our problem. We get to the point that because white folks put certain Negroes on TV and give them a couple dollars, put a couple dollars in their pocket, we think these are our heroes. Oh my God, I love you. I love you. I love your album. I love the fact that I love when you won that championship. But this man's going through life terrorizing and torturing people that he's supposed to protect. He's abandoning his kids. What's there to honor about that? I really think, and I think some of y'all in your own family, you got people in your family ain't doing nothing for their kids or whatever, but because they're making a little bit of money, you're looking right past it. You're considering them to be successful when they're not even trying to be a good parent. And again, I think back, let's go back to T.I. I saw T.I.'s son acting out, yelling, screaming, and hollering, and I don't know what the situation is with Tip and his family. I empathize with what Tip went through. I empathize with the challenges and the struggles of being famous and everything else. I don't know T.I. I met him one time in Ghana. That's it. I don't know him like that. So I'm not judging. But when your son comes out and your son is screaming and hollering, acting a fool, embarrassing the family, and you got to jack his ass up, and he's literally saying to everybody on Instagram, y'all ain't even my real parents. Y'all didn't really raise me. My grandparents raised me. That speaks to something that we as a community have to really address. And we have to ask ourselves, why do we admire people just because they're famous without really looking at the content of their character and how they chose to live their life? I'm not really going to judge you by how many records you sold or how much money you made. I'm going to judge you by what kind of man you are. That's it. It doesn't mean anybody's perfect. Everybody's flawed. Everybody makes mistakes. When we're young, we do things that we regret later on. But I want to look at you and just say, are you even trying to be accountable for anything that you did? Or are you allowing your fame, fortune, and wealth to allow you to feel like you can escape accountability? Well, accountability always comes home to roost. And accountability usually shows up when your 25-year-old child knocks at the door and says, you know, you're my daddy, right? And you're like, oh, wait, you mean that hoe I fucked back in 98? That's your mama? Oh, shit. Oh, man. I didn't even know. I didn't know I had a son. Why didn't you know you had a son, dude? I mean, the seed in your body has the ability of creating another human being. Who taught you to not be accountable for where you deliver your seed? Who taught you that? Who taught you that you're supposed to drop your seed in any nasty stripper or any toxic waste dump of a vagina that you see within a 100-mile radius? Like, who told you that? Who told you that that's appropriate behavior? There's nothing appropriate, responsible, or intelligent about any of that. I get it. You're horny. You like women. So do I. Everybody does. Or at least most guys do. So that's fine. But the ability to have some degree of logic and thought and strategy and discipline in your choices as a man is critical to your survival and the survival of the people that are depending on you. You know, and so one of my biggest gripes with corporate hip hop culture, not all of it, but corporate hip hop culture, is that it doesn't encourage men to be accountable or responsible. It doesn't. You know, so when I look at Diddy, I don't know if Diddy did these things or not. I'm not here to even say any of that. It's not my job to say he did it or not. He's got enough problems without some guy, you know, on the internet talking shit about him. I'm not talking shit about Diddy, but what I am saying is I saw what was going on and I saw the culture. I know the culture very well. I told you, I know a lot of rappers and I've been around. I've seen that stuff. And I'm going to just tell you, when you make those deals with the devil, eventually the devil comes and collects a payment that is far more valuable than money. You always going to have to pay the piper, bro. You always are going to have to pay the piper. That's my 2 cents, guys. That's it. I don't have anything else to say about this. Let's see how it goes. It's going to be interesting. Could y'all do me a favor? Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, we do have a social media platform for intelligent Black people that you are welcome to join. You have to answer 3 questions to get in. But if you answer these 3 simple questions, we'll let you in. We just got to make sure you're not a spammer or a troll. Just go to be1nation.us, be the number 1nation.us, and you can join us. We have over 70,000 of you in there now, and it's a great place to network with other intelligent Black people. Also, if you'd like to get a copy of my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, or my financial lovemaking, or one of our flashcards for children. We have financial flashcards in real estate, credit, entrepreneurship, even my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. There are flashcards to teach those principles to your kids. Feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. If you want to get a discount, use the code word book club. Use book club, all one word. You get 30% off anything in the store. So that's our gift to you. Feel free to go take a look at that. Last but not least, this week we're doing Start Your Business Weekend in the Black Business School, because we believe that every Black person should know how to start a business. Every Black child should learn how to invest and start a business by the age of 12. So, and also all the material is yours for life. So feel free to text the word stock to 31996. If you text stock to 31996 now, I will text you out this week a link where you can join Start Your Business Weekend at a pretty big discount. I think the regular price is $299. We'll take like 40% off or 48% off. So it'll be like $155 or something. And everything is yours for life. You can bring your whole family. You can share the admission. And Dr. Lene Vet's going to be the teacher of that class. And so we'll keep you guys posted. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Hit that thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Find me on Spotify. Just look up Boyce Watkins on Spotify. You'll find my podcast there. And I appreciate you guys for listening. And again, if I pissed anybody off with what I said, just take it as an apology, but not an apology, because I'm probably going to do it again. So I love you. I'll see you guys later. Take care now. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV.